they say all men are created equal. Shot! Master! I'll pull out the Glock! Full of suffering succotash, son!
It's one of your nuts hanging out of your shorts.
Real glass!
You have a father, but your father's dead.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Too Sweet podcast with Lucy and Estelle. A couple of days ago it was Wrestledream, and last night we had the follow-up Dynamite, so we're back this week with a review of that. Dynamite following up from pay-per-views hasn't been great historically this year when we've been doing this podcast, but I think this time was a bit better. So yeah, I guess we'll get into it and talk about Dynamite this week. Pretty hot start with Moxley in the back of a Jeep.
Yeah, I just wondered if you wanted to talk about what you've been up to the past week
Oh
before we get
yeah,
into Dynamite.
sure. Yeah, we can talk about this now. Yeah.
Yeah. So where have you been? What
Yeah.
wrestling event did you go to, Lucy?
Well, yeah. It's not. Don't know if it'll appeal to our audience, but last night I went to a WWE live event. In Manchester. It was a house show. It was pretty impulse purchase, this ticket, because I kept on getting emails that the tickets were 25% off. I think they were struggling to sell tickets, so yeah, quite impulsively last week I decided to buy a ticket, and yeah, that was last night. And to be honest, it was a good event. I enjoyed it. I did have fun. I think, for what it is, it's a house show, but they do pull out all the stops for them. Like there was a lot of championship matches, there was a lot of big stars. Cody Rhodes was there. Yeah, and the matches were good. Some were better than others, obviously, but they were good. It was all round, like, especially considering how cheap I saw that some of the tickets were, like, with the 25% off, like, I'm talking like 40 quid. Like, good value for money, I thought.
Yeah. Now, you've been to a few house shows, haven't you? You've been to WB Live in the past, you've been to a TNA. Where
Yeah.
would this one rank for you? Is it up there? Is it just average?
Yeah, I'd say it was up there, to be honest. The main event was a steel cage match. That was also, I've not
Oh,
seen one of those in real life before. And spoiler alert, Cody won with a Cody cutter, like from halfway up the cage, and I was like, whoa, why are you going this
wow.
hard, dude, in Manchester on a Wednesday night? So yeah, it's hard to rank it, but because I think it's less exciting to me now than it was when I was younger, because it was so novel. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here, and wow, it's amazing. And the more you go, it still makes me feel like a kid, and it's still amazing, and I still find it really wild that they're real people and they're right in front of me, sort of thing. But it does lose some of its excitement, especially like you learn the formula of the matches and things like that, and it's sort of predictable. But in terms of like match quality and stuff and the stars that I got to see, it was good. I would rank it pretty highly.
Yeah. Your
Yeah.
favourite match being the main event then?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. There was also Santos Escobar faced Andrade.
Oh,
That was a surprisingly good match as well. They went pretty hard. Um, yeah, but them two are the standout matches for me. But the main event was very good. And blessed Cody Rhodes, like he took so much time to say hello to everyone and get pictures and sign autographs and stuff.
yeah.
So I
Proper
know, and
baby
they all did as well. So did Randy Orton. Took forever, like, because he was probably, other than Cody, the most over person there, and he again just had time for everyone. So bigger stars, you can still. It's nice that they really want to make it worth it, like when they come on these tours. So I don't know if there's any other. I think that might have been the last show of their tour. I know they went to Liverpool Field or maybe Newcastle. I don't know. But I think that was the last one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's interesting to know. Interesting that they do like a steel cage and
Yeah,
everything, pulling out all the stops. I'm
yeah.
quite surprised at that.
Yeah, and like championships on the line, and it's like, well, you sort of know that the championship's not going to change hands, but it's still really cool that it's defended. The women's match, Nia Jax versus Bailey, was no disqualification as well, so we had a table spot. Um, I did I did vlog some of it, so if anyone's interested in me uploading that on the channel, let us know in the comments, and
I
I'll get
am.
that uploaded soon.
I wanna live it because you had decent seats as well, didn't you? You were quite close to ringside,
Yeah, I
like the
was.
ramp. I think it was. You
Yeah,
said.
that's right. Yeah, on the ramp. That's like my favorite place to sit. If I'm going to go to a WWE event, to me, I like to be around that area because it's just quite special when they walk past and you get a really close look. I think I was maybe 8 rows from the front, um,
Yeah.
which meant I had still had a good view. It wasn't so far behind that, sometimes when you sat on the floor, it's hard to see because it's not tiered. No, I had a great view. Yeah, it was worth it. It was a nice change. But if anyone's looking for something to do in Manchester, some wrestling, there is a wrestling show on in Manchester this weekend, Future Shock,
Oh,
and
are you going
Rhino
to be
is wrestling.
commentating
No, I'm
for it?
not. I bought
Oh,
tickets.
this is the random one.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
I
there was
bought.
Rhino and there was someone else that's on that's really random.
Yes, oh, I can't remember. But yeah, I bought tickets. They're doing 2 shows, so if you can't, you can't make one of them, you could come to the other. And Rhino's wrestling on both. So it's called Future Shock. So if you should Google that,
Future Shock.
Future Shock Wrestling Manchester, it'll come up. Get your tickets for either first show, second show, or both. And I think that you can meet Rhino too. I mean, that'll be cheaper
Wow.
than the WWE show. And I guarantee the quality of matches will be just as good, if not better.
There you go. You are getting around lately.
Yeah. Well, it, free weekend, I was like, I want to go watch Rhino dish out some gauze.
Totally fair. Yeah, the proper advertising for the Rhino, the proper Rhino being a draw.
Oh, Rhino is the biggest draw. They got to get
Yeah.
that. They got to get that wage money return on investment. You know what I mean?
Oh, I tried to Google it, but I can't find. But I just remember because I saw the poster for it, and there was something else that's going to bug me now. But we'll just have to live with it.
If we can put it in the caption if we find out, because
Was it
yeah, that's
someone from Love Island, or am I just totally making that up?
there is a Love Island. There is a contestant from Love Island who wrestles. I don't think he's on the show though.
Right. Anyway, let's get into Dynamite. Um. So as you said before, this was the follow-up episode, and the tone that Wrestledream ended on was so somber and macabre. It
Yeah.
was hard to think of how we gonna get into a normal Dynamite and just have normal TV programming
Mm,
after this. But I agree with you. Like I enjoyed this show quite a lot. I think when I saw what was first announced, like the card, I was a bit skeptical as to whether it would deliver. But
mm,
overall, I enjoyed this show. There was nothing that blew my mind, but there was nothing that I hated. I found it a really
yeah.
comforting Dynamite, like just really like f familiar faces, familiar,
Yes.
and everything, every match although there was like nothing that blew my mind, every match made sense, and I was like, oh, I can see why you've done that now. And I was questioning it at first, like the Aminata booking, and also Shelton Benjamin versus Leo Rush. But when I watched it, I don't know. I don't know whether I'm just in a more open mind this week for some bizarre reason, and I'm just more like accepting. But I was like, oh, I get it. I get where you're coming from. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree. Like watching it, it played out in a way that, yeah, that made sense. And a lot of the stuff, even if it made less sense, was still entertaining. And yeah, like you said, there's
yeah.
nothing that I hated on this.
Yeah, so we opened up picking up with the ending of Wrestle Dream, and it was basically a shot of the fallout of that. We had BCC cutting a promo and leaving. We had shots of the ambulance coming to pick up Danielson. And we also had a shot of the baby faces just looking on. So it was pretty great. And Moxley was mainly cutting this. He said, "Someone has to be responsible for things being taken out of control. I'll be that person." You've got shots of Wheeler Yuta, him just looking completely scattered by what he's just done, but
Yeah.
also a look of resilience in his eyes, a look of
Mm.
determination, like he's accepting of this fate. He said that he wants to create a land of opportunity, no egos, and celebrating when there's nothing to celebrate, which is really interesting because I feel like this was the first time where it felt like we got to the root of the intentions of this group. As to whether someone is actually ruling this group, that's not really been revealed. I don't
Mm.
know. I don't know whether that is something that they're gonna do. 'Cause this whole time he's been like, "Oh, I have to do it. I have to do it," and
Mm.
I'm still confused as to whether he has to do it because of his motivations, and his motivations are bigger than himself, or he has to do it because someone's ruling him. I don't know. But yeah, these are very real criticisms of Dynamite, and I think it's very interesting to see it play out. And I think it's totally fair criticisms, both in kayfabe and in real life.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah,
you're right. I was just gonna say that I feel like what he's saying is at least some of what was saying in this promo is perhaps rooted in like truth and maybe his true feelings, and he's maybe tapping into that a little bit, and that's why it comes across like really well, and that's maybe that's only speculation. We'll never know, but I think it's like you said, it's real and valid criticism. So it comes from somewhere, and that makes him all the more effective as a heel. Because when it comes from something genuine and you can understand, that makes it better, doesn't it? Yeah, he was saying about like dancing and celebrating, like he's sick of it, and I just imagine Mox in real life thinking that and saying that and genuinely believing that. He said that he's going to burn it down and start again, like he's not sentimental. So, and that I think again played in like later in the night with the people they chose to attack later on, and the people they have attacked in the past, like these people, like these OGs. So yeah, and he said, "You work for me now," and the championship was nowhere to be seen. So how interesting is that? It's not it's even more evident it's not about the championship.
yeah, such an acute observation. I didn't even realize that because it wasn't present. You're
Well,
so right. It
yeah,
hasn't come into play at all. It's
the only
yeah.
reason I picked up on that is because straight after on commentary, someone said, "Oh, there you see our new AEW champion, John Moxley," and I was like, I almost forgot he's the champion because it didn't. There was no reference to it. He didn't call himself the champion. He wasn't flaunting the belt. He wasn't wearing the belt.
But I think maybe that's going to make it so much more impactful when months and months down the line, when we end this era and Darby wins it, and Darby, because he enjoys being the face of the company, enjoys being on these talk shows, and later on doing the stuff with Tony Hawk,
Yeah.
being there and flaunting the title and that stark contrast. I think that's so subtle, but yeah. Yeah, and burn it down. I love that line. I need to burn down the forest to plant a new one.
Oh, yes, that was it. Love
Solid.
that. Love that metaphor. And also,
Yeah, I
just,
really liked how they opened with this.
yeah, me too. And I was just going to add just about Yuta and just the way he was sat there. He looked like pensive, I think is the word I would use to describe it. And like you said, like determined. I also thought he looked a bit worried. Like he just doesn't know. Like I think he feels in his heart, and you can see it in his face that he knows this isn't right, but he doesn't know what he can do about it. And
It's gone too far now. It's gone too far. You put the
yeah,
bag over Danielson's head. It's like, where'd you
yeah,
go from here? You've got to follow it through.
that's so true. But the way that the camera shot, like the final shot, was his face, was Wheeler Yuta's face. So it's they want us to think about him. I think.
Yeah, I just loved how they picked straight up with this. Really impactful stuff. And then in total contrast, we then had Adam Cole returning, which made us both emotional for some reason.
Yeah,
Did it make anyone else out there emotional? It just really got to me and Lucy this week. Like,
yeah. Don't even know why. I just like saw him and I was like,
I'm
oh
like getting emotional just thinking about it.
yeah. It's like maybe
I don't
everything isn't bad because he's come back from injury and here he is on TV looking happy. Bless him, he deserves to be happy.
Yeah, literally. It was just such like a an emotional like break after all this pretty much running from Wrestledream into Dynamite to then seeing him. It was just great to see him. Great to hear Adam Cole baby in the crowd and ah yeah.
But yes, but once he started talking, the emotions got so
Mm,
complicated.
they did.
Because,
Yeah, so
oh,
he cut that promo, didn't he? On pretty much the whole thing was on Max.
interesting that the first thing he did though was acknowledge the Undisputed Kingdom. Because I guess he could sort of sense people were going to be like, well, what about them? So he sort of got that out of the way first, and he was like, guys, you know I love you, but I need to do this alone. Um, and that was that. He didn't dwell on that, and then like you say, he went into going in on MJF.
Yeah, so this was all about reframing the narrative, which, like you said, he needed to acknowledge Undisputed Kingdom, and
Oh,
secondly, needed to
sorry,
acknowledge the narrative.
sorry.
So it was very crucial that they acknowledged that because of the online criticism, and
Yeah,
as we said before, it's not the best, and it was still in this promo a bit janky in its explanation, but it's the best that they can do now.
yeah,
And he sort of just explained that the shades of grey, and sometimes you've got to fight evil with evil, and that he always knew that he couldn't trust Max, and this is the real MJF now, so he's vindicated in that. Um, he just really went in on him, shouted out the hair transplant, said that he cares what people thinks.
fake
People in the back think
competitor.
he's a phony. Yeah, everyone hates him. I hate everything about you. But you know what? I cracked myself up because he was like, I hate your voice. I hate everything about you. And then I thought he was going to turn around and go, but most importantly, I hate the fact that I don't hate you. And it was going to be like 10 things I hate about you, like Heath Ledger. Like that's what I
Oh,
had in my head.
that would have been so much better. And they could have made up, and then that could have been the end.
Yeah.
They'd have
Um,
kissed.
So yeah, I guess his explanation is just that he had to sink himself lower uh to take Max out, but it's still roundabout because in this, just me being maybe a little bit pedantic, I still side with Max in this, even with
Same.
like Adam's explanation. I'm still gonna cheer him on, even though he's meant to be the heel,
Yeah, no, I
which
agree
is
with you.
fine.
No,
It's
I
fine.
agree.
It's fine. It's like it's like it's a friendship argument in it. It's two sides of every story, and is it really a bad thing if it's not clear cut heel slash face? But then Max later in his promo, he's very heel, so it's like he very much wants to be portrayed as that. But I think how I'm going to enjoy it, and I think everyone's just going to have to find their own way of interpreting this to enjoy this, is my original explanation of I agree with what Adam said that he had to go darker, but then he didn't say this explicitly in his promo. This is where I interpret it that when he saw what he did to Daniel Garcia and all that, it was like, whoa, this is too far, and that made him come back around and his injury and all that, and have a different appreciation for AEW and wrestling as a whole, and that's why he's come back as more so a clean cut baby faced. Because I think, yeah, that's just the way that you've just got to enjoy this angle, really.
Yeah, you're right, because you can choose to poke holes in it if you want, if you don't want to enjoy it and you want to complain. But yeah, no, I do agree with you. I found MJF quite sympathetic when Adam was talking, just because he just was really mean and just thinking back to what happened between them. I didn't find the explanation like
A strong enough
logical.
justification.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he just it was so harsh. I was like, you're calling him insecure and he's gonna cry alone when he gets any criticism, and here you are criticizing him for that. It's really mean. I just really felt sorry for Max because that's sort of relatable in a way, isn't it? Like, oh, you want to be liked and what have you, and obviously. It was a different story when MJF did his video and he was being an asshole. But I think even the live crowd, just from what I could sense from them, was sort of a bit like Adam. Whoa, you sound like an asshole right now. Just the I don't know. I just feel like they weren't really maybe responding to him in the way that they expected them to. But
Yeah,
maybe they did expect this sort of reaction, and that's the whole sort of intrigue and um like attraction of it is that it's a bit complicated which side you want to choose and stuff.
I think what they've done really well with this whole thing is always responding to the fans and
Mm,
adjusting and editing the storyline right from the start when they had to carry it on longer. Like the brochacho stuff, like that wasn't meant to last that long, but they kept continuing it. So I'm hoping that they'll continue to edit and reevaluate and work this on the fly. And I think if they do that, then there's no reason as to why this can't work. But
yeah.
it's just one of those things where it has to work. Like they can't. I know some people are like just pull them apart and have them never face each other, and it's like, but you can't because this arc is so important to their character and like their psyche and who they are as people that it's just impossible. Like you
Yeah.
have to at least confront it
Yeah,
and run through the match. We have to do it.
more people would complain if they didn't, you know. And I agree with you. You can't just ignore it. You can't just ignore it.
Yeah. So we had MJF's music playing, but it cut to a video of him, and he looked like so villainous. He was drinking wine next to a fireplace of a dark color palette, just you know. Um, and he says that but you said that when Max was talking this video package that he came across as more unsympathetic, but I actually felt for him even more when he was like, "You tricked me, and because of you, I'll
Yeah.
never trust anyone again."
Oh,
I
that is
was
so
like,
true, actually. Yeah.
"Damn." And he says that he finds it ridiculous that people are cheering Cole now after everything that he's done, and he says that he's left a void in him. With his trust issues, but he'll leave a void in Adam Cole by never getting in the ring with him, and he'll never get any vengeance. And the um this scene kind of closes with Cole pledging that he will get him one day. He'll beat him bloody, and that's sort of where we're at with that.
I mean, is this just a way of delaying it until the next pay-per-view? Max being like, "Oh, I refuse, fuck you," just so we can stretch it out a bit, perhaps.
I think Max is filming right
Oh
now,
yes,
and he's not
that's right,
with.
isn't it?
So I think that's the reason why they're elongating it out.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it makes sense, and I'm happy enough for them to develop it more and to wait for that match because yeah, I don't want it to. I mean, it'd be fine if it was on Dynamite, but it deserves a big stage, doesn't it? It'd be a big match, so yeah. And I thought it was really interesting when he said, my despicable actions aren't my fault; they're your fault. And just get Adam to do some inner reflection, like, oh, maybe I did cause this. Um, yeah, yeah, it was a typical MJF promo. Very, very good. He's very good.
Yeah, and
That's
if
all.
they're elongating it out, hopefully, and they're having some talking segments like this, they can keep editing it and work out the dynamics of the feud more so that when they're in front of that live crowd, they know who's working heel, who's working face, and at least at the end product, which will be the match, it'll be more cleaner and more polished
Mhm,
and less
mhm.
janky. And I think right now we're just in the teething stages of working
So
out
true.
exactly what roles people are going to be playing, and that should be dependent on the crowd. So you can't criticize them for it. They're doing everything right.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I definitely agree. I've got no criticisms, just observations about.
Yeah,
But I like it when it's like it's morally challenging and complex, and it's sometimes it's not a bad thing if it gets you thinking and it's not clear. That's good.
Yeah.
if done right.
So then we had Jericho, who said that he feels vindicated. He shouted out his Fozzy tour, which unfortunately, as much as I theorised that he was going to go away for that tour, turns out he's not.
Mm.
He shouted out Terrify Free. Can't wait to watch that this weekend. Says Matt Briscoe cheated to win. He wants his rematch, and he says he'll be the two-time Ring of Honor champion, just like Jay. So we are furthering this.
This is just my reaction to this, just face palm. There's
Head,
nothing.
yeah,
There's
head in
nothing
your hands.
to add. Instead, it's just like we thought we were free. We thought it was over, clean win, but no. Apparently, he cheated. I can't be.
Yeah. So then we had Matt Briscoe's response with Renee. He said he can't let Jericho continue to disrespect his brother. He says there'll be a rematch. It'll be bloodier. It'll be a ladder war, whatever that means, a ladder war.
Not a fucking clue.
Camera panned out to him with FTI, who had a match later that night, and Mark essentially just hyped him up. And yeah, what is a ladder war? Is the belt going to be on top? Because that's like a ladder match, in it.
Yeah, I guess so.
What makes it a war?
Um, don't know. Pass. We'll see. Maybe there'll just be
Yeah.
extra ladders.
Yeah, then we had FTR versus Brian Keith and Big Bill. I thought everyone was clocked in this match, and it was great to see FTR on top form. We had LFI watching on the monitors. It popped me to see Mortos growling at the TV. Um, it was a quick match. FTR picked up the win with the Shatter Machine, and the Outrunners came down and they had this hyped up celebration, which was quite random, and it went on for quite a long time. And you thought, is there going to be any conflict? Is there going to be any feud that we're going to establish from this? But nope, just vibes.
Just some guys being dudes. I guess. I thought someone was gonna get slapped, but we didn't get that. I mean this. Yeah, you said it all. This match was pretty average but good, and both teams looked strong from it. I thought, and to be honest, like I thought it would have been nice for Big Bill and Brian Keith to win, just to.
Against FTR.
I knew they weren't gonna, and I knew that's just wishful thinking, but build up the tag division a bit. This team. I don't know. I thought I just like them two. I like them two together. But yeah, we've got a few players so LFI, like you said, we're watching. And the Outrunners came out at the end to no consequence, so maybe this is trying to plant seeds for something. Don't know what.
Yeah, I
but
think it's just trying to create a presence. I think it's trying to bring FTR back into the mix. Brian Keith and Big Bill. Later on down the line, we had the Don Callis
yeah,
conference with bloody Brian Cage and Lance Archer. So I think it's just about putting presence and um I'm trying to think. Private Party and MXM are on for Rampage, I believe. There was another tag match for Collision, maybe. It's just about, and I think as well, it's the Outrunners have mainly been on Collision, so it's like bringing us Dynamite and like what is the reaction of the crowd going to be, and the crowd were
yeah.
hot for them. So
Mhm.
I suppose that it's just to test the waters. That's the way that I took it, anyway.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Then we had the Acclaimed with Renee, and Caster says they always want. I don't know. He was chatting some shit, and then it ended with him being like, "We always want more, want more." MVP comes out of his business card, and Bowens rejects it. Says they don't need anything from him. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it was.
not much more to say about that.
Yeah, MJF said when you're ready to be serious, like contact me, and I thought.
MJF.
Oh, did I say MJF? I meant to say MVP. Soz guys, like 3-letter abbreviations beginning all the same.
Me with fucking Wrestledream when I said Cesario, and then I kept calling him Cesaro after that point, and you just like people must watch me and they must think like, what is she on?
That's the whole appeal of a podcast, I think. It's both of us, don't worry. But no, because it was Anthony Bowens who said no. I did think, are they going to break up? Is
Oh, I
Max
like it.
Caster going to be like, actually, we've done fuck all. This sounds promising, and maybe split up. Just because Anthony was the one who said no, and Max didn't say anything. That's the only reason it got me thinking about that.
I didn't pick up on that. I really like that. I like you've got you're lazy, you're locked in today. You're noticing a lot of things that are just I'm slipping through my cracks. I'm sure they're not going to break up, but yeah, a bit of
Mm.
tension, maybe a bit of something, but yeah, pretty nondescript. Then we had the TPS match against Mercedes with Queen Aminata. So this match was explained by the video that they showed after the entrances, which was at Wrestledream. Aminata was getting an interview with Shivani. Mona interrupted it with her high demands about what needed to be in her dressing room. Um, which like okay, nice that like there is some kind of basis on this, but I mean, I suppose like you can't cut through a pay-per-view and show this segment. It would be a bit ridiculous seeing how low stakes it is, but I don't know. I don't know.
Well, on commentary, I think they sort of like I don't want to say expose. It sounds too negative. Like just highlights how daft this was, this segment and like this story. Because Nigel McGuinness said, "Oh, what was she thinking, disrespecting a star like Mercedes like that?" And then Tony Schiavone went, "Well, it got her a title match, so maybe she did the right thing." And to me, that is just I'm just
Yeah, a
like,
whole ass title.
yeah, it's like they had a conversation and now she's got a title match. And oh, I don't even know how do you explain it? Yeah, I'm not mad about this match. Like fine,
No, no,
I'm
neither,
not mad
neither.
about it, but it just was a bit. It's just a bit. I don't even know what the
Ridiculous.
word is. Yeah, like far-fetched maybe is not really the right way to put it, but sort of, that's sort of what I mean. It's just it's a bit of a reach to be like, oh, they had this altercation backstage and now we've got this match. I don't know.
Yeah, this really it wasn't an altercation, it was like a side eye.
Yeah, yeah,
And the tensions were just whew, too much. Gotta deal with this. So when I saw this announced, I was like, oh. Um, but to be fair, I really thought this match was great. I thought, it was obvious Mercedes won and picked up the victory, but this match mainly was just Aminata getting her offense in, but really being able to showcase like the best of her.
yeah,
Um, that rolling cradle to the pin. That was nice. It was just nice just getting to watch her, and it was like kind of like the Outrunners thing of the way I took it of like properly displaying her, not just here's a squash match, not just here's a throwaway match where she's going to get beaten in a minute. Here's a match where um you're going to see what she can properly do in the ring, and I'm not mad at that at all.
yes,
And I thought she came out looking really strong. And
yeah,
now, the next time she's on TV or next time I see her on a card, I'm not going to think, oh God, like bit random. This person's like a C tier on the roster. I'm thinking, no, this person's a solid B tier, and this person can go. And I hope she gets a storyline. That was my takeaway from this match. So I think, yeah, fair play.
yeah, same. I totally agree. That's what I thought as well. I thought it was really good, like athletic match, and like you say, she got to showcase what she could do, like on the A show. And she did look really strong. And Camille got involved, but she got headbutted like straight away by Aminata, and then she was out for the rest of the match. So she was able to deal with that, and then just be. There was no shenanigans from then on. It was pretty straight cut. Um, so yeah, yeah, yeah. She came across really well.
Yeah, on the topic of Camille, I think while she's great for Mercedes to riff on, God, there's just nothing there, is there?
There's no
There's just
sauce.
nothing there. There's no sauce. They don't even really have like a dynamic together. It's like Mercedes riffing off a brick wall.
Mm,
There's no like individualism to her. Like at least with MJF and Wardlow, which is like a similar dynamic that I can think of, you could tell that Wardlow was inside seething, or he had his own desires or his own autonomy. Even
Yeah.
Killswitch and Christian Cage, sometimes you'll see Killswitch kind of breaks through and he's like, huh, is this right? But then he goes back into his role. There is just nothing with Camille, and you barely see her wrestle. I don't know. It's just weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. She didn't stand out in any way. She blends in. Yeah, I can't remember the last time we heard her talk, or like you say, seen her wrestle. Um, yeah, she just needs a little bit, just a bit of something to make her have a bit of a personality and just, yeah,
Yeah, because it's fine. It's not fine now, but it's watchable now. It's not killing my experience of
mm,
watching Mercedes. But I think eventually you're going to be broken up, and how are you going to make it on your own when you've done nothing?
yeah,
And it's not even just storyline or booking, it's like you yourself, like you can get your personality across with facial expressions and body
yeah,
language or something, but you're just not doing that.
yeah,
And the
yeah,
blame is small on her, but there's still some blame on her. Because obviously the blame obviously largely goes to booking and how you present it, and that's a big part of it. But I also think like just star power, what's going to happen when you're broken apart? Are you going to be able to break out? I don't know.
yeah, yeah. That's very valid, very valid. I think you're right.
Yep. So then we had the Bucks and Private Party, their match was kind of surmised in a video package. Private Party were with Renee. They requested that the Bucks be there. Zay congratulated the Bucks, but said that they should also acknowledge just how close Private Party were to winning the titles. Quen says they want another match. The Bucks say they do respect him now, so they don't have the same views that they had of him before. They're just losers, but it's never happening again. Stokely intervenes and says, basically the next match they have, if they lose, they should disband because everyone knows that Zay is the single star, which was really so. The first half of this, like then with the Bucks and the Bucks being like, yeah, we respect you and but you're not getting another match for totally fair, totally logical. But then the Stokely stuff, I was like, what? Like, especially the Zay being the single star stuff. What does that like? Yeah, it's a marky comment to make. It's like a Twitter comment to make, and it'll pop people. But why are you exposing them like that? Like, is that really productive when we're trying to build up the tag division and build them up as a uniform team? And oh my God, they look so strong and so badass coming out of the Bucks, the match with the Bucks. Oh, but everyone knows Zay's the single star. It was just like, was there any need? I don't know, just my thoughts.
Yeah, I guess maybe they're going in the opposite direction to what you said, and they're trying to plant the seeds for some tension and like, oh, can they overcome the tension like with these big stakes? Um, or they've not achieved much. Are they going to break up, or are they going to fail and break up, or are they going to win and be even stronger? I guess is the story. I don't really know what
Right.
Stokely's got to do with that. Um, he's just another guy calling them losers, which we had a lot of last week.
Yeah, and I think it's fun, like having those stakes of. I'm not mad at the whole they should disband if they lose the next match because again, it's just building them up as underdog, babyface, and it's going to have people rooting for them more. But I don't know something about that. I was just like, I don't know. I get what you mean, like your explanation of like maybe it's to can they overcome all these different obstacles, but I don't know. Just thought it was a bit much.
That's valid. That is valid. It didn't. I don't think it did any. Well, obviously, it didn't do anything to help them. It didn't. Maybe it just adds an edge to their character where it's like, oh, Matt gets jealous or something. Just a little bit of extra dynamic,
There's enough
perhaps.
spice. There's enough spice in the soup. Just let it simmer now. You don't need to be fucking adding anything else. Like just chill.
Soup.
Then we've got Jack Perry saying today's a special day. Oh my God, it's Kenny
Oh.
Omega's birthday, my Libra King. Um,
Oh,
Loved having him shouted out. got him a birthday cake. Happy birthday, Kenny. Um, but then we poured like these insides, these intestines on, which I guess is like a dig because he mentioned his surgery that he'd had with part of his intestine being cut out. So I thought that was why we're doing that. And Jack says, "Get well soon or die. I don't really care." I loved it. I loved the whole thing. I'm like, yeah.
Oh, it was invoked such a visceral reaction in me. I was like, that is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen, and obviously that's the point. So yeah, really, really gross.
Yeah, and hopefully it seems that this is what we're doing when Kenny gets back. Clearly he's going to be wrapped up in the elite, but
Mm.
I know a lot of us were thinking maybe Okada, Kenny, maybe we're saving that for Forbidden Door. Um, I would selfishly hope, but maybe the first kind of feud that we do is with Jack Perry, which would be good for Jack to get the rub uh,
Hmm.
from Kenny, and for them to sort of play off each other. So yeah, really, really entertaining stuff. Guts on cake. I like it.
Okada saying happy birthday, bitch.
Yeah, I just
No
yeah,
notes.
love it. No notes, love it. 10 out of 10. Keep it up, lads. Then we had, I think this was my favorite match or my favorite part of the show. This was the conglomeration versus the Bucks and Okada. This was the high flying, bodies everywhere, and I put less on the technical wrestling and more on the fun and character. And it was
Yeah.
just chaos, but it was just fun, and you were so wrapped up in it that when what happened, it really yanked me out of it because I was just like, I'm having so much fun right now.
Oh,
Like, oh, this is just great. I was
that
just,
is
yeah,
so true. That is so true, and that's like what they aim to do, I think, and they've done it so well. Like you get wrapped up in the fun of the match, and then you just like snapped out of it instantly. But yeah, it was fun is the right word. That's exactly what it was.
yeah. I think it was meant to be like that, wasn't it? Like, it wasn't
Yeah,
meant to be like
like
technical or
light-hearted.
here's a slow sort of burn. Like, we're gonna have a card and we're gonna have hot tags, and it was just full steam from the moment it started, with everyone just doing the moves, but it never felt sinister. It never felt like the heels had the edge or the faces. It was just fun.
Yeah,
It was so well done. So
yes.
well done.
And really picked up like fast paced and exciting throughout, but especially like towards the end as well. So it was sort of like picking up, and then stop,
Boom.
brick wall.
Yeah, we had Wheeler Yuta coming out of nowhere and attacking Orange, and it really was just out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Um, then obviously the rest of the BCC come to join in. Uh, and the elite were on the ramp and they seemed to be shocked, or they're just frozen. They didn't really know how to respond. Uh, Later we had Jack Perry coming out and he told them to go to the back, so they did. They just left. And commentary really picked up on this and really spoke about the significance of the EVPs turning the back on the locker room. And I really like, because the thing is, right, I think a lot of people, and me as well, the EVP, like I said last week, like, oh, they tried to do it with the Undisputed Kingdom, then they had the EVP, then they had BCC, and they want to have this heel domination. But I love the idea of like, yes, the elite rule it, and yes, they're heelish, but they're not as fucked up as the BCC. But like in a corporate sense of the
yes.
word, they'll turn a blind eye to it, and that's such a fun dynamic
That's
to have.
exactly
I
what
really
I was
like
just
that.
about to say. I was just about to say they're like the corporate heels. They're abusing their power. They're corrupt, and but then they're turning their blind eye to the real evil. Like the not necessarily real evil, but the real bad guys who are actually like the ones causing havoc, hurting people, injuring people, trying to kill people, sort of thing. Um, and they were literally like looking like shit. This is what real bad guys look like. But then turning the back and not helping, and that's like, oh, I don't know. It feels like a working class struggle of like the rest of the locker room. They're like, you bastards didn't help us when we needed you most, and like you're not using your power for good. Yeah, that there's layers to the different types of bad guys, and there's the power dynamic. But then Mox at the start was saying that like he runs AEW now, like sort of implying that. So then you'd think that the Bucks would be against him because they run it sort of thing. And then you've got
I
like,
think it's almost like they're almost scared of him as well. That's
yeah,
kind of the impression I was getting of like, oh well, shit. Well, if we get involved, they're going to turn on us as well.
yeah,
And so to kind of claim to any semblance of power, the best thing to do is to appear outwardly neutral and retreat
yeah,
and kind of try to save face by being like, well, yeah, of course, nothing happens that we don't know about. And yeah, sort of mirroring real world struggles
yes,
for sure.
exactly, exactly. And you know what else was interesting about this was like Darby Allin not being present. And I know they had the Tony Hawk segment, but it was sort of like, you know, commentary really wanted to emphasize that, you know, Darby's he's we haven't been able to reach him, sort of thing. So that it's not like a glaring sort of thing like why isn't Darby here? He should be here to save the day sort of thing. And they were like, we couldn't reach him. He's not here today.
Yeah, we haven't touched on this in the podcast. I haven't brought this up to you, but I read this somewhere and I can't get it out of my mind yet. That the reason that they had Hook as part of this ensemble of baby faces, and the reason that Taz got taken out and it's going to be revealed later that it was the BCC that attacked Taz, and that's
Oh,
how Hook's going to get brought into it, like
yeah,
fully.
yeah.
Oh,
I see that. That
that is
makes sense.
juicy.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so with the beatdown element of this, we had Dante and Top Flight coming out to level up the odds, but they were laid out. And then Dark Order ran down. And as they're running down, the Elite at this point are still on the ramp and they're asking, how can you let this happen? And it's just the frustration and turmoil. It was really palpable. Um, and yeah, Alex Reynolds for some reason got absolutely singled out and annihilated. He was strangled and choked out with his own belt, and then had the steel steps pushed into him. And when the damage had sort of been done, BCC retreat and Private Party and Garcia come down, Christopher Daniels, and yeah, sort of helped Orange up. Yeah, it's really interesting stuff. Like I said, the dynamic between the heels, but also the faces and the alliances that are being, um, and it's just that it's not just like to me. It didn't feel like a cheap running of like, oh, I'm going to save the day. It's like desperation. Like we need to get out
Yeah.
there. We need to help people. This is wrong. How can people just sit and watch it? It's so good.
And because like they've seen what's happened to Brian, they don't want that to happen to anyone else. So there's
Everyone has a responsibility at the moment, don't they? It's like it's before it was like, oh, we can rest on our laurels, we can rest on at least we got Danielson, but now it's every man for himself, but it's also like we need to be out there and help and protect people because people are gonna get hurt.
hmm
Like seriously hurt. And you really feel that and it's amazing how many people are involved in this and how well they're playing it out and how real it feels.
yeah,
Um, and the momentum that's been carried over from Wrestledream and it didn't lose a beat.
yeah, yeah. It almost feels like I don't know, just back on the real life sort of comparisons, but you know, like a union sort of thing, like everyone has to come together and form like, you know, power there's power in numbers if we all you know, if we all try and come together, put our different side, maybe we can fight this. But ultimately, at this point in time, it's failing. So it's like, what can we do? You know, gather more people from the locker room, build up some more power, sort of thing.
And I think that's because you do in movements in real life and in
Yeah.
this case, you need a leader. And that
Mm,
leader will likely be Darby Allin. So I guess we're waiting for that to sort of come into fruition
mhm. Mhm.
because it's all about removing the head of the table, in it, which is the world champion, which is Moxley.
Yeah.
But I suppose by the way this fallout went, maybe what we're doing first is we're going to build up Orange and do Orange Mox first and then Darby after.
Mm, maybe. Maybe.
Um, I'm not too sure. But then it cut to backstage and the Elite were being interviewed. They say it's none of the business. They're literally, I love this because they're literally walking backstage and it's just like almost like a politician's answer of it's none of our business. They need to have time to think about. They haven't even had time to think about and rehearse their speech or what they're going to
Yes.
say. And Garcia comes in, he's hot and he's like, "How can you let this happen?" And then him and Jack Perry weirdly nuzzle and that was strange. And then Garcia says he's got private parties back if they have his, and it's like you said, that unionization, that forming of alliances, and yeah, furthering the Garcia and Perry feud. And it's I just love how at the minute you can really everything's so clear, like where we're going, and that's not a bad thing. Like as in earlier setting up for Jack Perry, Kenny Omega, but first we're going to do the Garcia thing.
Hmm.
No one's Everyone's got plenty of creative because even Garcia, when he does the Jack Perry thing, he's got the MJF thing. Everyone's just got so much creative and so much around him at the minute, which has been weeks and weeks and weeks of build through a lot of shitty dynamites and a lot of slog fests.
Hmm.
It's great to have gotten to this payoff point of
Mm.
this excitement. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, you're right. It's like yeah, you're right. It's got to the point where there's an immediate story, but there's also some in the long term as well that you can see coming and you're excited about them. And everyone's eating good. Everyone's got something. Everyone's got their
Everyone's
role.
Lucy's summary. Everyone's eating good. I like
Yeah,
it.
including them.
Plates are clean. Yeah, and we're the real winners.
Hmm.
And then we got a flashback to Swerve and Nana and their segment at Wrestledream MVP, and that followed into Leo Rush versus Shelton Benjamin. Again, when I saw the graphic for this, I was very skeptical. I was like, also, did you see that graphic that was with Takeshita and I've forgotten his name now, but it's Grand Metalik. I've
Oh,
forgotten his Mascara Dorado or something. I saw that, I was like, fucking hell. But it wasn't real, it was a fan edit. But then someone saw it and now they're going to make it a real thing.
oh my God, yeah. And Dave Meltzer was talking about it, wasn't he? Yeah, I
Yeah, yeah,
saw
yeah.
this clip. I didn't watch the full clip, but yeah, I have seen this. So, power of social media, make those fantasy graphics, guys. You might just, um, what's the word? Manifest it into real life.
That was mental that. But it's been a roller coaster of emotions for me because I thought, yes. I thought, no, this is happening. Then I thought, yes, it's not happening. Now it's like, no, it's happening. But
Oh.
happy for you, person that made that graphic, I guess. But anyway, this graphic, I was like, oh, for God's sake, Leo Rush. I'm not wrong with Leo Rush. Every time I watch him in the ring, I think, God, you're amazing. But Leo Rush, he's that toxic situationship that just ghosts you and then he comes back and then he ghosts you again. It's just, I don't know. But anyway, when the match
No
started, I really
consistency.
liked it. And I was like, this was a great choice. And I
Yeah,
was wrong.
yeah, yeah. You know what? That's fair because it had no real appeal on paper, but this was a good match. Um, it was a classic sort of clash of styles and sizes. Like Leo Rush is really tiny and Shelton Benjamin is Shelton Benjamin. So
This tank.
yeah, but it wasn't. It could have been a squash match, but it wasn't. Leo looked really good. He went over more than one segment. He was given a real fighting chance. At the same time as like making Shelton Benjamin look really strong as well. So he was taking a beating. He was getting thrown across the ring with ease. Like he was getting killed on the outside with like that suplex, taking some real nasty bumps for him. But like it was quite impressive the way they did it, where they'd done all the things that I've just said, but Leo Rush didn't look weak.
No, yeah, I love the agility of Leo Rush and watching him trying to run rings around Shelton Benjamin,
Yeah.
but Shelton manhandling him as soon as he came within his vicinity. Um, I just thought this was a great in-ring exhibition of making Shelton Benjamin look top notch whilst not conforming to typical typical caricature of a squash match
Yeah.
because even the ending wasn't typical. It wasn't one big move and then he's out cold. It was five big moves because Shelton Benjamin, it wasn't a squash match of I'm just going to go out and kill this person. It's I'm going to punish this person. I'm going to give him several Germans. I'm going to launch him. Oh my God, that super kick.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a super kick look more brutal in your life? Shelton looked amazing, not only in the ring, but his body. It was an exhibition because it was, as MVP cut a promo on later, it was meant to be a message to Swerve. It
Yeah.
wasn't about defeating Leo. It wasn't about, look how dominant I am. It was, this is what I can do to you. It was fucking brilliant. It was
hmm
brilliant.
hmm Yeah. And they said that on commentaries. I think Nigel picked up on it like, oh, is Swerve looking at his future right now? So yeah, it wasn't just like, oh, he is big and strong, scary. It was more, yeah, like what he is capable of.
Yeah. Um, then we got the Tony Hawk Derby collab. I don't know if you've seen it as well. I can't remember if it was in the actual video on Dynamite or whether it was the one on social media. Um, but when Darby had his broken foot and Tony Hawk like vaulted up using his foot, I was like, of course he did.
Of course. That probably really hurt his broken foot as well. But
And
he
he's
was
like, it
just
was so rad. Did this to my broken foot. It's like, oh my God.
he'd do
This you want
anything
a
for
signed
Tony Hawk,
copy?
though.
Oh,
He'd do anything that
poor
man
guy.
asked him to.
This is the guy that is going to save us.
Yeah, with his skateboard probably.
And then we had Swerve and Nana with Renee, and Swerve just wasn't intimidated at all. He didn't give a shit,
Didn't give
which
a
was great.
fuck.
The aura of Swerve is just amazing, and I don't think he's lost a beat since losing to Danielson. I think
No.
he's just been in his element since the moment he won that title, and he still carries himself like a world champion. He still
Yeah.
feels like the world champion. He still feels like one of the top faces, top dogs of AEW. But I just loved his response of just nonchalance. And
Yeah.
you know he's gonna pay for it later, but I loved that. There was no concern. It was just brilliant.
That's very him. That's just his character through and through, isn't it?
It's like
Also,
you should be scared of me.
Yeah, exactly. I forgot to say this before, though. I've just remembered. Shelton Benjamin is apparently 49. I mean,
49.
49 years old. I mean, looking at him, the shape that he's in, the way he was moving in the ring, he didn't look it at all. Wow. The
That's a bit younger than what I
longevity.
thought he was.
Is it actually,
Yeah,
like,
I knew he was like getting on a bit.
like the longevity of his career, like how long he's been wrestling, and he looks exactly the same, and he's still wrestling the same qualities.
He's
Very
still in his
impressive.
peak, isn't he? He's still in
Yes.
the peak. Looking at him in the ring,
Yeah.
it's crazy. Age in wrestling is crazy when you think about
Yeah.
how it used to be in the 2000s, in the 90s. It was a young man's game. It was, and no one would have thought that like AJ Styles coming to WWE when he was like 37 or whatever it was and hitting
Mm,
his prime there. That'd be unheard of. That'd be like Twilight year. That'd be like farewell tour
yeah.
time. It is crazy, but I don't know. I wonder in the future of wrestling whether that'll still be the case because of the work rate that these young guys are going at. I don't
So true.
know necessarily whether that'll still be the case.
Or does it balance out because the schedule's not as harsh? Don't
Don't know.
know.
I look at Kenny, man. How
Oh,
fucked Kenny is. It's so
yeah.
young. It's so young in really in terms of wrestling, like 40, 41
Ryan
maybe now.
Danielson too.
Yeah. Then we had the Don Callis press conference. So this had several parts. But the first part was Brian Cage and Lance Archer came out to zero aura, and basically said they'll take the tag titles. Well, they aren't even teamed together. And the two of the people that I hate the most, like the two of the people that I think get in the bin the most. So they better not take the bloody tag titles. Oh my God, fuck that. Then Fletcher and Takeshita come out. And Takeshi cuts a nice little promo. He says that, come get my title. Kala says they're going to take the title around the world. They're going to defend it on all different corners. That's great. Love that. And Kyle is extremely triggered by Ospreay to the point where he can't even give an explanation, which I didn't mind because I wasn't mad at it. I thought clearly it's something to do with like insecurity or like feeling inferior, but he can't like admit that. That's sort of what I read. And then we got like the closing shot, and it was basically this is Don Callis Family 2.0. R.I.P. Will Hobbs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, this was fine. This was fine. I don't really have any thoughts about this. But yeah, no, I agree with you. It made sense for Kyle to not explain because in his head, it's like, well, I don't need to explain it. Fuck you all. Makes complete sense. I'm not mad.
I was fine with it just being Kyle and Takeshita though, and I think like again
Yeah.
it's a case of this. It was good soup. It was Adam Driver good soup. Like we didn't need to add anything else to the soup. I
Yeah.
understand like getting the rub and trying to bolster up the tag division and trying to, I get it. You've signed contracts, which is on you, fucking dickhead. Why have you signed giving these people contracts in the first place? Um, I get it. You want to get your money's worth out of people, but I just think, oh. Oh God, I hate him. They're so boring. And when they're a tag team now, it's going to be there's not even anything to balance it out. Who's going to get the hot tag? Because they both just had the same person doing the same moves, the same 100 pop-up power bombs. Like I can't do this. I can't do it, guys.
Yeah, I don't know why we needed just a couple of extra people on the Don Callis roster. Like, oh,
A couple of
fine,
NPCs.
fine. I'm just like, whatever. Go for the tag titles if you want. I won't be
But
very
Takeshi
happy
looked
if they win them.
beautiful.
True. And the sign that said "Marry me, Takeshita." I think he replied to that on Twitter, and I can't
I
remember
didn't
what he
see that
said.
sign.
It was like right on the hard cam, like right in front
They're
of me.
so real for that. They are
Yeah,
so real for that. Um, Mariah, she was venting her frustrations and,
pretty valid
they,
frustrations.
yeah, having basically not essentially having nothing to work with, which, yeah, yeah. Anna
Again,
Jay
rooted
squares
in
up and
truth.
accidentally strikes Christopher Daniels. What do you make of that?
I don't know why Anna Jay was so aggressive, like just right up in her face, like I'm here, I'm right here, bitch. Like I don't know why she was throwing hands over that. She could have just gone up to her in a civilized way, said, "Oh well, if you think you've got no one to fight, you can fight me." But no, they were scrapping, and then for some reason Christopher Daniels was right there, and he ended up getting slapped, which was quite funny, but pointless. So that was my thoughts.
Yeah, Anna Jay's been away in Japan. I'm yet to really see anything that shows that she's changed that much. Apparently, I mean, her in herself feels like she's grown, so that's a good thing, I suppose. But don't know. I've never been a big Anna Jay fan, so it doesn't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's certain people that like I've always like. Yeah, you connect with people at the start or you don't, and like I'm sure some people are absolutely ecstatic. They're like, "Yeah, Anna Jay." For me, that's like Penelope Ford. And some people like the other segment, the other week, they're probably like, "I don't give a fuck about Penelope Ford," but like I'm like, I don't know. Like I just love her, and I'm just happy for her to get that push. Am I making any sense right now? Like
Yeah,
random connections you get with
yes,
people,
I get that all the
and she's
time,
just one
and
of them that I haven't randomly connected with.
yeah, that's me with my. I feel like my favorite wrestler is either just a random connection, the first ever match I ever saw him, and I was like, yeah, you're mine from now on, or like you've developed an appreciation for them. It's them two things, and I think like the random sort of connection for some reason that you don't even can't explain usually ends up being stronger, and sometimes you just don't get that, and when you if you've not had that connection, but then you've also not had the chance to see them, they've not proven to you like they've not had the chance to really develop. Then how can you get behind them? Yeah, that makes complete sense to me.
Yeah, it's like Statlander when she started to get a push. It's believable to me because I've already got that like attachment. But then if someone's getting a push and you don't have that attachment, and it's like you said, but then you also need to see it because it's like this week with the Aminata stuff. It's like I've got a small, not a massive attachment, But like, you know,
Yep.
my little
It,
attachment bar, it's
it's
like in The
building.
Sims. It had a
Yeah.
little few plus signs watching
Yeah.
that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Certain people like Lance Archer were in the red. We've got negative. Implies mother is a llama and all that. Like, that's where I'm at with that.
Oh, what is the crossover audience for this? Like, are people gonna get this, or do they just think we're
What is the
insane?
crossover audience for this fucking podcast? Who knows? And the references.
Thanks for sticking around, guys.
Ricochet. Yeah, thank you for tolerating us. Ricochet with Renee. Um, and she asked, "Were you too focused on Osprey?" And Ricochet says, "Well, he just doesn't really acknowledge that. He's just like, I want pinned in the match, and I haven't been pinned since arriving."
Oh, of course.
And he gave an open challenge for Collision, which has been answered by none other than AR Fox. So that'll be a flippy match.
Flipping
Seems AR
shit.
Fox has finally gotten out of the heat when his grandma died and he couldn't make it to All In, and then he got buried for a year
Oh
for
my
having his grandma
fucking
die.
God. We talked about this at length in London last year, didn't we? I fucking forgot all about that. Wow.
Yeah. I can't remember who was put in the match instead of him. Oh, it was the coffin match, I think, with
Yeah.
Sting. Because it was
Yeah.
Swerve and it was meant to be Swerve. Yeah, because AR Fox originally, he accompanied Swerve, wasn't he? As like, and they did that beatdown at Nick Wayne's house.
Mm-hmm.
And then he
Yeah.
randomly turned face.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then it
And
all kind
out of
of,
the
yeah.
blue. And yeah. Wow. I just remember being on a bus on top of a double-decker bus in London and talking about that with you. And oh, we hadn't even made the podcast yet. We're still just chatting shit. We were, yeah. Wow. Memories.
Yeah, now we just document chatting shit. That's the only difference. Um, yeah, but that should be a fun. It's a good collision match. Should be a lot of fun. And then we had the fight from earlier, resuming backstage with Top Flight and Dark Order. And then eventually BCC go away in their little pickup truck, and Dark Order and Top Flight are just like fuming.
How cute
Just
is that
fuming.
they all just like get together in the back of a Jeep and drive off? Who's driving? That's what I want to know. Is Claudio driving? I don't know.
Yeah, did they go to Mackey's drive-through like that?
Yeah, defo. Do you
I
want
like
to
how
start?
everyone's got their
Sorry, go
own
on.
modes of transport,
Yeah,
like the scapegoat bus and now the BCC pickup truck.
that's an
Yes,
important
let's.
part of characters in AEW, apparently. What vehicle do you drive?
Do you know what? That'd be great merch to sell though.
What, like
I know the
little
Jack
trucks?
Perry had a scapegoat line. Yeah, he has like a keyring, a coat, all scapegoat. But yeah,
Monster
like little
trucks.
little vehicles.
And Darby Allin on his skateboard.
Yeah,
Chris Jericho and his convertible that got all those pennies dumped in it. Oh, amazing.
Top Gear AEW version. Right, yeah, let's start a new part. Let's start a new part. So now the main event. This is Jay White versus Christian, and they have a lot of history together. Commentary explained it well at the start. The rivalry over the trios belts, and also the interference in the Owen Hart match. The interesting thing about this though is like it always felt like they were setting up for a big feud. Big feud never happened,
Mm.
and then now Jay White's coming out for revenge. It's almost like wrapping it up. So I just find that really interesting. So the feud, it's almost like we skipped out a step. It's like
Yeah.
we're setting something up. Something never happened. Now we're gaslighting. That's what it felt like, a gaslighting. But
Yeah, like these guys have so much history, guys. It's like, yeah, they do, but we never got the big. We never
the
got a big
payoff
feud. Yeah, we didn't get a
because he
payoff.
got injured. Um, and obviously now we're going to Hangman Jay White, and Christian Cage's got his own thing, so there's no point picking up. It's unfortunate timing. I guess it's because of injury, but it's just like I don't know. There's no reason why when he came back we couldn't have focused around that rather than Hangman. But then I guess that would have meant that he'd still be in trios purgatory, and I
Mm.
guess maybe the Hangman feud is better for him to be a solo star. And
Yeah,
yeah, it's just tough.
yeah, it feels like a bigger program as well with Hangman, like just bigger and better things, I guess.
Yeah. Um. They would have had some really. I wish would have had the Jay White Christian program though back then because I feel
Mm.
like especially uh the promos that we could have got would have been really entertaining. But yeah, I thought that this was very much a WWE match. I don't mean that in a bad way, but it just felt very WWE main event. I don't know if that's
Mm.
just me that got that.
A bit formulaic and I guess
Maybe I think no. I just
low
think they
pace.
both have. Christian definitely wrestles more like a WWE style, and he's a bit older. He's not got the same work rate. Jay White can. Jay White mirrors his opponents, um, so he can definitely go. But I think even naturally, his style is more like this pace, and
Mm.
I think like if he went to WWE,
He
he'd
would
pick
fit
it
in.
up really easily, like the promo style and that. I
Mm.
don't know how to describe it really. It's just it's not a criticism. It's just an observation.
Yeah.
That's a new tagline, guys.
Yeah. And a valid one at that. I know where you're coming from. I think it's probably, yeah, I think it's like Jay White mirroring the style of Christian. Um, and that is definitely his style because, like you say, he's older. Can't really, can't go the rapid pace. Um, it would stand out on Dynamite because you maybe not. It's just we're not used to it as much.
Yeah. Um, Nick Wayne got ejected, and the Guns dragged him up, by his ankles. And again, Nick Wayne, he doesn't really do a lot, doesn't he?
Mm. Yeah, no,
It'd be
not at
great
the
to see
moment.
Nick Wayne do more, but then I also contradicted myself because while I was having this thought process, I was like, a previous comment I made is that do you really need to? Because he's so young.
Mm.
He's so young, and I suppose what's the point of like risking injuries, long-term injuries, and his work rate is so high that I'm like, no, nothing's going to be wasted by keeping him out of the limelight. Even they could not run him in any kind of significant programming until he's like 25, and
Mm.
even then, he's so young. So I'm like, is it really that much of a problem? But I just really enjoy him, so it would be nice to kind of see him have more to sink his teeth into rather than the odd match on Rampage.
Oh, yeah, that's hard because I agree with both things of what you just said. I think it's probably not. Yeah, I think for what he's doing at the moment for his age and like all he's achieving, like he's building up his star power and stuff, and probably learning a lot, getting a lot of really good experience. I think it's good for him. But I don't want to sound patronising. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, like, oh, good for you, kid. You're doing so well for yourself, sort of thing. Because I'm sure that he wants to just do more and more. But yeah, there's no reason why it should be rushed.
It's just for me, it's just injuries. I'd hate to see
Mm.
him go out or go too hard, too fast.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Kip Sabian tried to interfere. At this point, Hangman comes down. He sort of lays on the side of the ring, and the finish is Kip Sabian uh, talking to the ref and Hangman delivering a buckshot for the win. So that was still keeping up the Kip Sabian stuff.
I was just really confused. I just didn't quite follow what was happening on this. Why did Hangman like he jumped on the apron in the
He
first
realized he
time
was going to get
round?
caught.
Yeah, and then he hid, but then commentary were like, "Who was that?
Oh,
Who
they
was
need to stop doing that. They need to
was
stop
right
doing that.
there?" It's like, how did you not see that was him? And he was still laying there, and they pretending like he wasn't there. I was like, "What's going on?"
It's so funny.
I found it very
Um,
weird.
yeah, so I guess we're kind of putting a pause on the Jay White Christian stuff, or at the least it's wrapped up now. Uh, Clearly, like I said, Christian doing something with Kip Sabian. I think it's time to wrap that up as well. Either bring him in as part of the patriarchy or have a match where you squash him. Like just do something because this has ran its course. And yeah, Hangman Jay White are going to continue the feud, which I'm totally fine with because their match was quite short.
Mm,
And I think they could definitely do a lot more if they go again. So
yeah,
I'm totally down for us to continue down that path.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. Me too, me too. And Hangman looked you know, he's obviously not let it go because he interrupted this and he still looked really crazed and wild. And that shot of him laying down beside the ring is so
Mm.
funny. So, yeah, yeah, let's explore this a bit more. I'm here for it.
Yeah, so for me, I think I'd give Dynamite an 8 out of 10. Like I say, there's nothing I hated, but then again, there was nothing. I think if the main event had been a really like hot match,
Mm.
it would be higher. But because like we didn't get that, that kind of brings it down a little bit. Still enjoyed the main event, don't get me wrong. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a really solid Dynamite, and I thought everything had its purpose, everything had its place, and yeah, it was just I if I'd surmise it, I'd say I just found it really comforting and really I don't know how to I just don't know how to describe it any other way. I just enjoyed watching the show.
It was like a warm hug.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I agree. I think 8 is fair. It wasn't. Yeah, the main event could have been better. Like say if that was like an amazing match, so it would have bumped it up a bit more. But I think the storytelling on this was really good, and the like the faces, like the familiar faces, like you said right at the start, was really nice. And yeah, sorry, I just got distracted because I just heard someone outside making a weird noise. So yeah, I've lost my train of thought, and I don't know what to add other than 8 out of 10. I agree.
8 out of 10. Um, yeah, I don't think I really anything else to discuss this week. Fright Night,
2 weeks.
Swerve versus Shelton Benjamin.
Yeah,
Is that two? No, that's next week. What are you on about?
I
2 weeks.
thought it was in 2 weeks because
No,
Halloween's in
Halloween's
2 weeks.
next week.
Oh, no, it's not. Is it?
Halloween's next week.
Uh,
Halloween is not next week, guys. It's not next week.
I didn't think so, but I didn't want to be like, oh no, you're wrong. Yeah, it's in 2 weeks.
Halloween is in 2 weeks. Yeah, I was gonna say, oh, that got announced. That's juicy. That's tea.
Well,
Um,
we've got one more week to slog through before we get to that, but that's something to look forward to. That
yeah,
that'll be a good match, I think.
yeah, that'll do it. Really, don't have much else to say. Let us know your thoughts. Also, Lucy's a vlog. I am anticipating that. I know y'all will be too. So
Yeah,
that'll be a lot of fun to look forward to. And
yeah,
any
I'll
other
get that up
tea?
whenever. I don't know when. You'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, in the meantime, be sure to subscribe if you don't. Leave a like on the video. Or a rate on Spotify if you're listening on Spotify. And as always, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. And yeah, we will be back to Yap pretty soon. Next week's
Back to
Dynamite. And so let us know, yeah, your thoughts on this week's show and anything you want us to talk about next week. Got any questions or anything? Always open to feedback, suggestions. So let us know in the comments. And we'll see you next time.
Yep, bye.
I must bid you adieu, goodbye, and good night, bad.
I wish you died in the womb!